Hello, my name is Rajesh Sur. I've done my bachelor's in electrical engineering and also done my master's in electrical engineering. I'm also have done my MBA and I'm also senior member of IEEE. I have around 58 United States patent grant and also 141 worldwide patent. I've got 23 years experience in semiconductor. And today I would like to talk about leadership lesson in less than 15 minutes from what I've experienced over my 23 years experience in the corporate world, and I just thought I'll share it with you. So three of the main leadership lessons which I've learned is one is empowerment, one is planning ahead, and failure is a prelude to success. Now, what is empowerment? So this is a very famous clip from a movie which is called 12 O'Clock High, and the person on the left is Gregory Peck. He is a general in the Air Force. And what was happening is that this story was set in Second World War, and people were kind of scared or they were not successful in doing daytime bombing, which was kind of difficult because what happens in daytime bombing is that you're virtually exposed to the enemy anti-aircraft guns, and people were not ready to fly. The US Air Force was losing a lot of pilots in the air, as for the movie. And what happened is that Gregory Peck takes the ownership of, precise flying, communication, what needs to be done, and he kind of, brings up a team which was very good in doing that. But what happens toward the end is that he wanted to go on every bombing sortie. Now that is not possible, humanly possible, because there is something called burnout, as we say in professional field, and burning out is not a good thing. And what's very important is that when you're leading a team or forming a team, you're also making future leaders. So everyone has a potential to become a future leader. And in this movie, that's exactly what happens because towards the end, he is exhausted, he's sweating, he cannot carry on a mission. But then the people whom he trained become the next set of leaders. And while he was resting in the bunker, there was another way of leaders leading the day bombing, and surprisingly, there was no casualties. So one of the other most important thing in leadership is empowerment. You got to empower your juniors so that they become the future leaders. This is good for the team. This is good for the overall project. And that is the kind of mindset every leader needs to have is I need to clone probably three or four leaders like myself so that eventually things will not go as planned for me. I may have some health breakdown, I may be out of station, or there may be something else happening. But the advantage of having empowerment is that I'm kind of bringing up other set of leaders who can kind of fit into my role when needed. Another successful trait of a leader is planning ahead. You need to plan ahead even before that real action happens. In this particular picture, it's a picture of General Manekshaw. I have got a lot of respect for him. He's a five-star general, and during the 1971 war, the then Prime Minister of India, Indira Gandhi, wanted him to kind of attack East Pakistan during June of 1971. And Manekshaw said that, sorry, we cannot attack because one thing is that the southwest monsoon was proceeding. It was going to hit India anytime. Roads were going to get mushy. Tanks will not be able to move. There could be some other logistic issues. And he kind of planned ahead that June was probably not a great time to do any kind of warfare or preparation. He succeeded in that, and India did attack East Pakistan in December 1971, or when they were engaged into that engagement. And what happened during 1971 December is that there was no monsoon. The tracks were okay. India kind of won the war. They kind of liberated Bangladesh, but the key point is that a leader has to plan ahead. He has to plan ahead of time to see what are the obstacles, what are the things which are in his advantage, what are the things which are not in his advantage. And accordingly, he needs to kind of, cascade it to his leader on top of him as to what can be done and what cannot be done. This is one of the main important trait of a leader is planning ahead. One of the other important thing is that, from a leadership perspective, is that failure is a prelude to success. Now, this is a clip from the Second World War. There was the German bridge. It was a very famous movie which was made, A Bridge Too Far. The Allies were trying to get the bridge many a times, but they just couldn't succeed. And eventually, they could not get the bridge, and it was kind of a status stalemate where neither side could capture the bridge. But what the movie was trying to depict is that, failure is doesn't mean that we may not get success in the future. And that's what happened. So they may have not have got this bridge, but eventually the planning, executions, and everything was kind of revamped, it was reviewed, and in the future the Allied did win the war against Germans. They did capture many of the other bridges, but again, the main point from a leader perspective is that let the failure not deter you. Failure is sometimes good. It kind of makes you a couple of steps behind. You want to think, okay, what I could have done differently? What are the attributes which I could have contributed? And eventually it gives you the path to success. And some of the other leadership qualities which I think are very important is practice, communication, and third thing is every man is important. Practice. Now, why is practice so important? This is a picture of Kapil Dev. He is an all-rounder from India who used to be a legendary cricketing heroes. And the key thing about him is that he used to practice. He used to practice his bowling, his batting, his fielding. During the 93 World Cup, India never had a chance. People did not have confidence that India could even win the World Cup because they were playing some of the mighty people like Australia and West Indies. However, this particular all-rounder Kapil Dev had a lot of faith in himself because he has been practicing in-swingers, out-swingers, yorkers for a long time. Not only bowling, but he also used to bat pretty well. There was a very crucial match against Zimbabwe when the Indian team was almost 43 runs for 5 wickets, and it was a pretty hopeless situation. Kapil Dev comes out from nowhere and he did the batting of a lifetime where he could secure 175 runs. India won that match. Not only did they win the match, but they also went ahead and won the World Cup. They were kind of considered the underdogs for this particular 1983 World Cup. But what the leader, as in Kapil Dev, who was captaining the Indian team, showed that if you practice, if you have faith in yourself, you can kind of achieve which nobody could think of. Even today, people after so many years, almost 3 decades, think of the World Cup when India had no chance, yet every person who played in that 11 thought of himself as a leader, and the leader was leading everyone from the front, whether it was batting or whether it was bowling. And also during the World Cup final, he did take an exemplary catch of Vivian Richards. Vivian Richards was one of those batsmen, if he gets going, he could probably defeat any team in the world. But here, being a captain, it was almost a pretty difficult catch. He almost had to run 15 yards to 30 yards backwards, looking at the sky, and he took an amazing, beautiful catch. Again, the main thing is practice. Practice makes you perfect. And to be a good leader, you have to practice every day, every moment, every hour. How you talk to your team, what you need to deliver to your team, what you're doing on your particular field, whether it's electrical engineering, circuits, designing, layout, product engineering, you have to practice. That's a thing which has to be done every day consistently, and the more you practice, the more you become perfect in a certain state of art. Communication. I mean, this is one of the most important traits of a leader. Now, this is a clip from 1971 war, and this is on board INS Vikrant. The person who's standing in the middle is Captain Swaraj Prakash. He was one of the most successful captain of the Indian Navy, and he kind of made very clear-cut communication with his fighter pilots, electrical engineers, and everybody what is expected of them. During the war, INS Vikrant went with a lot of handicaps. It was a carrier where only 3 out of the 4 boilers were functioning. So if you don't have all the 4 boilers functioning, the fighter aircraft cannot be launched in a proper way. And also, Vikrant was never tested out in an actual war. What would happen? What exactly may go right, what may go wrong. But Captain Suraj Prakash was very confident. He had a very nice way of communicating with his team, his officers, his enlistees, and everybody. And he was a very well respected captain. The reason I know is because my father worked in Indian Navy for 32 years as a commander, and during the 1971 war, he was on board INS Vikrant. One of the particular incident which I would like to mention is that on the 18th of November, INS Vikrant with his escort ship in the middle of the night slipped away to an island called Diglipur, and it was done for a strategic reason. The reason was that they did not want to know, they didn't want anybody to know where the naval ships had gone. And in those 12 days before the actual war, INS Vikrant and the escort ships were actually basically hidden from the rest of the world. And during those 12 days, Vikrant was in pinch drop silence. There was no communication, and Captain Swaraj Prakash came and made an announcement. Just go very casually but very effectively. Just go about your business. Make sure you're 100% prepared. There was no mention of war, to his team, but everybody was told, just be ready. Something may happen in future. On 3rd December 1971, Vikram came out of his hiding along with the escort ship, and the rest is history. They did win the Bangladesh Liberation War. Vikram came back victorious. None of the 23 Seahawks or the 3 Elysees were lost. And that is the steering power and quality of a leader is communication. You have to communicate to your team as well as you can, as effectively as you can, so people know what is expected out of them. A communication which is not done properly from a leader means the team is not coherent as to what the end goal is. And sometimes it can have deadly consequences. Main thing, communication. Improve on a company communication. Make sure this communication is as clear as possible. Try to make your communication regularly. I mean, it doesn't have to be on a day-to-day basis, but make sure the team is informed every couple of days what is expected, what is the main objective, and what are the things going forward. One of the other important lesson in leadership is that every man in a team is important. This is a clipping taken from the Marines boot camp. If you see very closely, there are 6 Marines trying to lift a boat as they try to go boating. Now imagine if one of the Marine falters, that boat is going to capsize because the boat is designed in such a way that each one carries equal amount of weight. So in the leadership team, it's not like any man is important or any man is not important in the team. Everyone is equivalently important. So a great leader, what he does is that he tries to make sure that everybody in the team is trained adequately. They kind of help each other, they kind of mentor each other, and this goes a long way in kind of making a very successful team. And the biggest quality of a leader is that every man in the team needs to communicate. The left hand needs to talk to the right hand needs to talk to the left hand. It is impossible for a single man to lift the weight of the boat, as you can see. It's not going to happen. But if you've got 6 members, if each one of them kind of share the weight equally and kind of help each other, that's a winning team. So in short, that's what I promised in 15 minutes, how to get some leadership lessons. And that's what I did. I enjoyed giving the videos, and of course, leadership is a very vast subject. What I'm trying to cover is just few things which I've learned over the span of my life, and which I thought was very critical, and which I've observed over the years. That what do winning teams do? What do the leaders do, which is very different from other people? And these are the 6 traits which I've noticed. And if I go through the pages of history, I'll see that these things are repeated over and over again. A winning leader has got a lot of qualities, and these 6 are probably, I would rate some of the important ones, if not the most important ones. But if we kind of follow them, if we kind of adhere to them, it's a long way to become a good leader and to lead a great team. Thank you.